Dian 162 years, Yong'an 7th year autumn. Yuzhu Jinyan House, Yuchang County, the foot of Daming Mountain, Gujiazhuang. In the cold winter, Daming Mountain is full of frost in the early morning. Dian has been a country for more than 160 years, surrounded by enemies outside, and evil beasts and bandits inside. Only martial arts is the foundation of life in this world. On the high platform of the martial arts field in the middle of Gujiazhuang, a bald man was shouting loudly. The big man is 8 feet tall and has a strong waist. A scar is torn from the corner of his left eye to his jaw. The scar is shaking like a centipede when he speaks. Beneath the high platform, on the martial arts field where Huang Ni pressed, dozens of children, the youngest 8 or 9 years old, and the oldest 13 or 14 years old, lined up neatly and stared at the big man. Gu Shaoshang stood in the middle of the team, looking at the martial arts instructor Gu Gu on the high platform, his eyes lit up. Considering that I have been in the army for more than 20 years and participated in dozens of wars, both big and small, I can get out of my body. I should be able to achieve my goal. I must seize this opportunity. Gu Gu stood on the high platform and watched the scars on the faces of the children under the platform shake. The martial arts are endless, and the foundation is the first. The set of tiger roaring boxing I teach you is the orthodox physical training method in the military. On the day of the great achievement, tearing tigers and leopards and cracking steel and cracking stones is just a matter of time. Taking into account the sudden step down the high platform, the bones of the whole body made a click sound. When he turned around, the black armor shook with a hoo, and he punched the weightlifting blue stone on the martial arts arena. Boom! The blue stone took off 3 feet away from the ground and hula broke into pieces of gravel. Impressive. That piece of blue stone weighs 500 jin, and it flew 3 feet in one fell swoop. Da Qingshi is the hardest stone, and it shatters in one fell swoop. After all, they were a group of teenagers, and they exploded on the martial arts field. Xiao Gu was shocked in sadness. It's been 10 years since I traveled to this world, but I still think the martial arts of this world are incredible. I can do it too, even stronger. His heart suddenly became hot, and his whole body was shaking with excitement. Taking care to pace up to the high platform, the tiger's eyes swept away. The audience suddenly fell silent. The foundation of martial arts is to first refine the skin, flesh, muscles, and bones, and then refine the bone marrow and internal organs. Those who have no flaws and flaws in their whole body are the first level of martial arts. A martial artist can carry a heavy load and run like a steed. The Tiger Roar army of Yuzhu can lead the position of centurion, and even hundreds of horse thieves can be killed alone. A veritable 100 enemy. A group of teenagers were smacking their tongues. And I'm a martial artist, the centurion of the Yuzhu Tiger Roar army. Taking care of standing on the high platform, looking forward to self-improvement. Third uncle, how long will it take us to cultivate to the life-defining realm? A young man in grey linen at the front of the team asked, his handsome face full of desire. Gu Gu smiled slightly, his face twisted like a centipede with scars. I learned martial arts at the age of 10, joined the Tiger Roar army at the age of 21, and did not enter the state of life until I was 29. Taking into account the Sai, his eyes were a little erratic. Xiao Zi, with your qualifications, you may be expected to be promoted to the life-defining realm before the age of 25. Only when you are promoted to the life-defining realm before the age of 25 can you hope to join the Dian Yanwu Hall. There was an uproar in the crowd off the field, and they all looked at Gu Shao's enviously. Dian Yanwu Tang, Dian's first violent institution. Dian is a peerless weapon to suppress all sects in the world and deter Chu state. Anyone who can join the Yanwu Tang is a peerless genius. Even if there is only hope to join, it has already surpassed most people. After all, Gu Shao's was only a teenager, his face was slightly drunk, and he was a little flirtatious. Taking care, he waved his hand and got off the high platform. Practice tiger roaring fist by yourself. If you have any questions, ask me. The crowd spread out in twos and threes, all over the martial arts field, each of them worked hard to practice their fists and kicks. The shortest teenagers in the field had been practicing martial arts for more than half a year, so naturally they didn't have to worry about staring at them all the time. Gugu stepped off the high platform and walked towards the village, when he suddenly heard footsteps coming towards him, and looked back. A 9-year-old boy wearing sackcloth and long sleeves was walking towards him with small steps. A look of hope appeared on the boy's darkened face. Short injury, what's the matter? Gu Jing stopped. Gu Jiazhuang has a family of more than 1,000 people, all of them are blood relatives, taking into account the natural understanding of Gu Shaoshang. Gu Shaoshang raised his head and looked at the tall, monster-like carrying opening. Uncle Third, can you punch me? Gu Jian was the third son of the previous patriarch, and all the teenagers in the village called Uncle Third. Taking into account the stunned. Have you lost your mind? With your small body, you will become mud with one punch. Taking into account the speechless, a martial artist in the life-defining realm can kill a tiger and a leopard with one punch, and a big blue stone as tall as one person can. Hit the smash. I haven't heard such a silent request in so many years. Gu Shaoshang broke into a cold sweat. If it wasn't for that mirror, how could I have made such a brainless request? Gu Shaoshang is a traveler. In his previous life, he achieved nothing in the year of his 30s. He never wanted to be brought to this world by a mirror that was picked up on the way to travel through the starry sky. In the past 10 years, the mirror still cannot be turned on. Third uncle, I want to personally test the power of Hu Xiaochuan Dacheng, please. Gu Shaoshang put his feet apart and put on an air. Taking into account the speechless look at the 9-year-old boy in front of him, his slightly black face is full of seriousness, like a little adult. Okay, I don't have time to play with you. Go and play with Gu Shao's and the others. Gugu's face darkened, he waved his hands and turned to leave. Gu Shaoshang gritted his teeth, if you miss this opportunity, you will have to wait at least several years for the projection mirror to open. The projection mirror of the heavens is the culprit who brought Gu Shaoshang to this world. There is only one way to turn him on. That is fighting. There is no other way. Gu Shaoshang has tried too many times. The children in the village, the wild beasts in the mountains are not enough to open the conditions. Taking into account slowly walked out of the martial arts field. Gu Jiazhuang's house is very close, and a fence made of ironwood more than 10 feet long is deeply embedded in the ground to surround the village. Ordinary wild animals can't get in at all. On the cross street in the village, on the blue stone slab, thinking of Gu Shaoshang, he couldn't help shaking his head. Take care. Taking into account his heart skipping a beat, a burst of wind came into his ears. His spine trembled, and he swung backward like a tiger, and a tiger claw always attacked the enemy's confidant. Taking into account that I can't remember how many times I have used this trick, I don't know how many hearts I have taken out. Suddenly, Gugu had a savage smile on his face, and Gugu had seen the shocked look on the young boy Gu Shaoshang holding an iron wooden knife. Not good. Taking into account the blood he vomited in his heart, he turned his right hand into a palm. Reluctantly took a 7-point effort to avoid Gu Shaoshang's key point, but still swept the palm of his hand on the wooden knife. Kung Fu on the battlefield has always been my invincible, life and death tricks. Taking into account the ability to do this is already a master. Gu Shao's head exploded when he injured his head, and all the hair on his body stood up. Taking into account the figure that rushed over, he was like a giant tiger, and his body caught with one claw was like a little white rabbit in a tiger's mouth, unable to move. Move! Gu Shao roared in sadness. Reluctantly raised his arms, he held a wooden knife cut from ironwood in front of him. Boom click! Gu Shaoshang felt as if he was hit by a 70 mile truck. The wooden knife, known as the steel in the wood, was broken along with its own arms. And then toss it out. This time is miserable. Gu Shaoshang vomited blood in the air, his eyes turned white, and he fainted. Considering a boy who jumped and caught in midair. Fortunately, I've worked hard. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. Taking into account the long breath, he placed his palm on Gu Shaoshang's arm and gently massaged on his chest. Crack it. Bone setting is no problem for Gu Xiang. There was a sharp pain between his arms and chest and abdomen. Gu Shaoshang groaned and opened his eyes. What caught my eye was the family's four-sided home and the black face of his father. Stinky boy, you dare to attack a martial artist with a wooden knife. You are lucky if you don't kill you. Gu Shaoshang lay on the bed and listened to his father. Guju reprimanded him with a dark face. Alas, since your mother left when you were 3 years old, your father and my body have not been as good as before. You want to be mad at me? Guju tossed her little hair, and dragged her bony body to the front of the bed to get the medicine bowl. Father, I was wrong. Gu Shaoshang looked at the man in front of him who looked like a tuberculosis ghost, his eyes were slightly red. It was the man in front of him who dragged his seriously ill body and raised him abruptly. It is not for him that he desperately wants to open the projection mirror of the heavens. Father, I've been in a coma for a few days. I feel so hungry. Gu Shaoshang struggled to feed his father the medicine to his mouth and drink the medicine. A sharp pain from the zongzi-like body wrapped in white cloth made him cough dryly. A few times. Humph. I've slept for 2 days. If it weren't for your third uncle, even if you were cured this time, you would still have sequelae. Guju scolded lightly. After all, she felt sorry for her son, so she turned around and left the house. Lie down by yourself and don't move. Gu Shaoshang waited for his father to go out. He couldn't wait to close his eyes, and his spirit sank into his mind. In the middle of the dark sea of consciousness, a mirror radiated light like the sun. The world in the mirror, this is a small space in the projection mirror of the heavens, only a dozen feet in size, surrounded by black mist. Gu Shaoshang also only met the entry requirements a few months ago, and as long as he concentrates, he can come here. As the lavender light flickered, Gu Shaoshang felt that he was standing on a stone platform that was more than 10 feet in diameter. On the stone platform, a mirror floated 3 feet above the ground, exuding lavender brilliance. Gu Shaoshang is just like the real body in the mirror world, and it is not synchronized with the real world. No matter how long Gu Shaoshang enters the mirror world, the outside world is only a moment. The only thing that restricts him is that his soul power is only enough to stay for 16 hours. But what an advantage to have 16 more hours a day than others. Gu Shaoshang stepped forward, raised his hand, took off the mirror and sat cross-legged on the ground. The lavender light is not dazzling. Gu Shaoshang can clearly see the line of words on the mirror. The conditions for opening the projection mirror of the heavens, a real battle like a warrior. Turned on. Gu Shaoshang endured the surging emotions, and lightly stroked the mirror. The font on the mirror changed. The projection mirror of the heavens has been opened, damaged, now is a sporadic supreme level, mirror master, Gu Shaoshang source, 10 points projection of the main world, 1, has been activated projections of the heavens, 0, can be turned on Zushan projection pool, choose to open, consumption of source power varies, and then open immediately, minimum 1 point of source power at a time. Gu Shao was saddened that the projection mirror of the heavens was bound to his soul, and he already knew this information. When you open a projection in the main world, you will get different source power. And the source force can open the projection of the powerhouse in the world of the heavens. Random opening is a designated star, and it costs very little to obtain cheats for characters and items of the same star. Selecting to enable can only enable character projection, and you need to know the detailed information, which costs a lot more. And you can also get a certain amount of source power by defeating the projection yourself. The most important thing is, these projections will fall. All the martial arts and treasures possessed by the projection itself can be dropped. Then spend the source power to materialize. You can even spend your source power to project your real body into the heavens. Of course, it would take 100 points of source power to repair the 1STAR projection mirror. Right now, Gu Shaoshang is only drooling. Gu Shaoshang tapped lightly on the projection of the main world. Brush. The purple light of the projection mirror of the heavens condenses into a figure in the air. Tall in stature, with a strong back. There is not a single hair on the head, a scar from the corner of the eye to the jaw. Take care. Gu Shao's eyelids twitched, feeling a little scared in his heart. I was almost beaten up by him. Consideration, age, 43 years old. Cultivation, early life, evaluation, 1-star ordinary drops, sporadic basic fist, sporadic basic movement technique, sporadic basic sword technique, 1-star cheat book tiger roaring fist, 1-star cheat book gripper in the army, 1-star cheat book blood war saber, 1-star cheat book the cheat book longitudinal technique, the 1-star cheat book the beginning of archery, the 2-star cheat book Yuan Mang swallowing the stars, the 3-star cheat book golden bell cover, the 1-star war sword beheading knife, the 1-star war bow and the flying crossbow, the fall in the army wine, military ointment, military uniforms, military beef jerky, some Dian copper plates, some broken silver combat strength, 113. Whether to start fighting? Yes. No. Gu Shao smacked his tongue in sadness. He was indeed the centurion of the Tiger Roar army. There is actually a 3-star secret book. You must know that Tiger Roaring boxing, which can be cultivated to the realm of life, is only 1 star. And the warriors who are in the realm of life have 10,000 jins of power. With a heavy weight on his back, he can surpass the speed of a horse. In a previous life, it was a little Superman who kicked over a car and demolished a building with his bare hands. For Samsung's golden bell, young Master Gu's eyes are so hot. It's a pity that if you want to defeat Gu Xiang, that can't be done in a short time. The most important thing right now is the projection of the heavens. Gu Shaoshang sighed and opened his evaluation panel. Gu Shaoshang, Mirror Master Age, 10 years old. Cultivation base, the first level of foundation building, straighten your strength. Evaluation, sporadic ordinary gong, basic fist basic swordsmanship tiger roaring fist props, a wood breaking knife combat strength, 3. Gu Shaoshang was sighing endlessly. With his own combat strength of less than 5, he was not killed by a single move. Your own life is really big. No, I don't want to be crushed to death by him. Gu Shaoshang casually clicked on the projection pool of the heavens, and the projection he took into consideration immediately scattered into a purple light. All heavens projection pool select to open. Please enter the world name, age, and deeds of the selected person. It will open immediately. Please select the star rating, cannot exceed the current level of the projector. The all heaven projection pool can choose different time periods for the powerhouses. What a mighty force this is! Creation beyond space and world. Gu Shaoshang fell into deep thought. How to choose? I choose the covered world Yefan. Age 1 year old. Deeds, Yetiendi. Establish a heavenly court. In his heartbreak, Gu Shao chose a peerless powerhouse in his memory. I will never bully the weak. Come on. Emperor Yetian. Gu Shaoshang has long known that the projection mirror of the heavens can project the peerless powerhouses in past life novels, movies, and animations. And Yetiendi is definitely the best candidate. Taoism. 9 Secrets. 6 Paths of Samsara Fist. The mother of all things. Become a fairy. Gu Shao is heartbroken. The selection is complete, start the projection. Gu Shaoshang's voice fell to the ground, and the projection mirror of the heavens jumped. A tumbling in the air, when the purple light was released, Gu Shaoshang clearly saw a huge world looming in the purple light. The world that covers the sky. Emperor Yetian. Gu Shaoshang jumped up, and his heart was beating violently. Just watch this if you eat dry and drink water. The distant world covers the sky in space and time. The people of ancient times are all 100 years old in spring and autumn, and their movements are not bad. Ye Fan closed the Yellow Emperor's inner canon and was fascinated by the ancient times contained in the Su Wen chapter. Ye Fan picked up the teacup and took a sip of clear tea, and suddenly a purple light shot from the sky. Ye Fan raised his head, and a mighty purple light cut through the clouds in the sky. There is a passage divided in the sky for a long time. Like a godman's sword splitting the sky. Purple air is coming from the east. In Ye Fan's astonished expression, a flash of purple light covered the entire street. Ye Fan stretched out his hand, and an excited voice seemed to be shouting in the purple light. The world that covers the sky. Emperor Ye Tian. Ye Fan put down the teacup and looked unconcerned. But if you listen carefully, you can hear Ye Tiandi muttering to himself. It sounds like a child, covering the world? What do you mean? Ye Tiandi? Tiandi's surname is Ye? Tiandi? It's interesting. The pleasant ringtone of the mobile phone broke Ye Fan's train of thought. What? Miss me? Gu Shaoshang grabbed Ziguang's restrained mirror in his hand. Emperor Ye Tian. Gu Shaoshang took a few deep breaths, suppressed his surging heartbeat, and looked down at the mirror. Sure enough, the source power was reduced by half, and it was only 5 points. Projection of the heavens, 1. Turned on. Once a day, not stackable. Sure enough. Gu Shaoshang couldn't wait to open the projection of the heavens. The mirror irradiated a purple light that radiated into the air and gathered into a single figure. A little one. The little one is very white, tender, and beautiful, and the whole figure is like a white porcelain doll. He was wearing diapers, a baby bottle in his mouth, and a small flower hat with a tiger's head on his head. It's indescribably cute, and it makes people fall in love with it. Baby Ye, age, 1 year old, cultivation, none, evaluation, sporadic and ordinary, note, Savayan star supreme level Ye Tiandi infant body. The potential is huge. Drop, Baby Ye's diapers, Baby Ye's baby bottle, Baby Ye's tiger hat. Combat strength, 0. Whether to start fighting, yes. No. Sure enough. The projections of the strong at different times are also different. Gu Shaoshang lay on the stone platform with a black line on his face. Although he had expected it, the result still made him feel a little down. There is one more chance. This time I must seize the opportunity. Let me think about it. Let me think about it. Gu Shaoshang closed his eyes and thought hard. There is. Gu Shaoshang jumped up and looked excited. It's definitely possible this time. Gu Shaoshang reopened the projection world of the heavens. With the first experience, Gu Shaoshang is not so nervous this time. Calmly open the projection interface and click on the projection pool of the heavens. All heavens projection pool select to enable. Please enter the world name, age, and deeds of the selected person. It will open immediately. Please select the star rating, cannot exceed the current level of the projection mirror of the heavens. Gu Shaoshang calculated it in his heart, but found no loopholes. I choose the world of Juding, the world of Kyushu. Teng Qingshan. Age, 3 years old. Sect Master of Xing'ai sect, the strongest in the world of Juding. Shatter the void. Emperor Ye Tian only made his fortune when he was an adult and slowly became a peerless powerhouse. Childhood itself does not have any magic treasures. But Teng Qingshan is different. He was reincarnated in the world of Kyushu with his memory, and he was born as a master of internal boxing. He is a master of the collection of domestic boxing. The selection is complete. Start the projection. The projection mirror burst into the sky with purple light, communicating with the world of Judingji. Judingji world, Zhu world, Yangzhou, Yuchen, Dianshan, Tengjiazhuang. In Tengjiazhuang's martial arts training ground, hundreds of people were covered in sweat, topless, holding big guns and practicing stabbing with big guns. The top is flat, the shoulders are flat, the spear is flat, the feet are flat, and the body is flat. A thin middle-aged gunsmith roamed the field and shouted. Seeing a man whose movements are not up to standard is a kick. There were a group of children beside the martial arts field, staring at them, sometimes exclaiming in surprise. One of the 3-year-old children stood on the sidelines with a smile and watched. Shake the big gun. Zhongping stab. These 2 styles are enough to practice for a lifetime. Wow! What a beautiful purple light! Look! It's flying towards us. A purple light and purple sky spread out towards Tengjiazhuang, covering even the noon sun's rays. A group of children with very sharp eyes suddenly cried out. The men who practiced guns could not help but stop and watch. The purple light spread down and shot directly at a child on the sidelines. Qing Shan. The son of the Yongfen family. Go and see. Gunnery instructor Teng Yongxiang ran out of the field with a long gun in hand. Zigwang closed at a touch, revealing a stunned Teng Qingshan. It is recorded in the Battle of the Peak on White Horse Lake that when Teng Qingshan, the most powerful man, was born, there was purple energy coming 30,000 miles eastward. Heaven and earth drink for it. The world of covering the sky, the world of Judingji, and even all the novels of the previous life, the world of myths. Sooner or later, I will set foot in one by one. I will truly fight against the powerhouses of the heavens and project the heavens. Gu Shaoshang can't help himself. Projections of the heavens, too. Turned on. Once a day, not stackable. In the purple light, a little boy with red lips and white teeth and beautiful eyebrows gradually appeared. Teng Qingshan, age, 3 years old. Repair, none. Evaluation, sporadic ordinary drop, 0 star. Killer training, 0 star. Yoga, 0 star. Firearm mastery, 0 star. Wild survival, 0 star. 0 star. Basics of marksmanship only and a half star. Secrets Xingyi Iquan 2 star. Secrets End of the world. Small stones, cotton padded clothes, combat strength, 1. Whether to start fighting. Whether. Sure enough. Gu Shao's heart fell like a big stone, and he let out a sigh of relief. If it weren't for the fact that the projection mirror of the heavens has been bound to his soul in the past 10 years, his soul has been continuously strengthened. How can he remember a novel from his previous life? The projection mirror of the heavens plus the novel reading of the past 10 years is his strongest golden finger. According to the memory of my previous life, I cut into a time point when Teng Qingshan hadn't started practicing Xingyi Iquan. At most, he has a little knowledge of yoga, and his combat power has reached 1. Gu Shaoshang smacked his tongue secretly. The 1 here is the combat power that an ordinary person who didn't know martial arts in his previous life could only achieve at the age of 18. You must know that the baby is only year-old, and the 3-year-old Teng Qingshan has only been born for less than 800 days. It can reach the combat power of an adult. The consciousness of the master of Xingyi Iquan is really powerful. When Gu Shaoshang came to this world, besides his seriously ill father, the one he had most contact with was a group of 12 or 13-year-old teenagers. The most qualified among the group of teenagers is his cousin Gu Shao's. Gifted. At the age of 10, he has a power of more than 500 pounds. The genius boy who reached the 2nd stage of foundation establishment at the age of 12, skin as tough as a drum. It is impossible to reach a combat power at the age of 3. Build the foundation 5 levels. Fixing your strength and perfection can mobilize the muscles of your whole body, and you can hit your whole body with a single punch. The leather is as tough as a drum. The bulging of the skin around the body can weaken its own damage. When it is complete, it is like wearing cowhide. It has the power of an ox. It can shake heavy objects. The tendons are taut like strings. All the tendons in the whole body are tensed like bowstrings. Hitting people is like opening a bow, and a middle fist is like an arrow. Forged bones are like rigid, the bones of the whole body are gradually strengthened, and the piercing force is strong. When it is completed, it can withstand huge forces, and it is difficult for swords and axes to hurt. Practicing the blood mercury paddle, boxing goes deep into the bone marrow, and the blood in the whole body changes gradually. When it is successful, it is reborn and the blood is like a mercury paddle. Ordinary people who practice martial arts for 10 years may not be able to break through the first level of the whole force, but those who break through the second level at the age of 12 are geniuses. Gu Shao was heartbroken with ups and downs. Start fighting. Please choose the battle environment. Currently available: Competition Arena, Jungle, Desert Competition Arena. Brush. The projection mirror of the heavens rose high in the sky, shrouded in purple light, and Gu Shaoshang felt a trance. The next moment, the sun was hanging high in the sky, and he appeared on a huge competition arena. Teng Qingshan, a 3-year-old boy in a cotton coat, stood opposite him. Gu Shaoshang was taken aback, and slowly put on the tiger roaring fist starting gesture, exclaiming in his heart, "It's incredible. It seems like I've come to the real world." On the opposite side, Teng Qingshan was expressionless, as if he only had a fighting instinct. At the moment when Gu Shaoshang took a stance, he suddenly took a step. Pang! Gu Shaoshang pressed his palm down to block a punch. Sure enough, my strength is much smaller than mine. Immediately, a bow stepped into the fist and hit Teng Qingshan fiercely, causing Teng Qingshan to twist. With both hands on Gu Shaoshang's right arm, a whip kick kicked on the outside of Gu Shaoshang's thigh. Gu Shaoshang's right arm trembled, and it was drawn out like a loach. The tiger climbs the mountain hard. Gu Shaoshang jumped back first, his muscles twisting all over. Both elbows were like steel spears, hitting Teng Qingshan's chest and abdomen fiercely from top to bottom. It is the one-style boxing in tiger roaring fist. Click. Like a sound of bone cracking, I remembered that Teng Qingshan fell down, and immediately turned into purple light and dissipated. The next moment, Gu Shaoshang found that he had returned to the world of consciousness. Sure enough, Teng Qingshan at this point in time can be beaten. Gu Shaoshang lightly patted the thigh that was kicked by Teng Qingshan just now, thoughtfully. Teng Qingshan just now seems to have a body all of a sudden. Reading www.yuyuganshu.com can't tell that this is a projection. It's the same as my current state. What is the origin of the projection mirror of the heavens? It possesses such incredible power. Gu Shaoshang clenched his fists tightly, released them, clenched them tightly, and released them. Repeat several times, take a long breath. Now let's take a look at the harvest. Catching the falling projection mirror, Gu Shaoshang checked it. The mirror master and the projection of the heavens, the battle of Teng Qingshan, victory. Drop, horse step pile, source power 0.1. Whether to extract. Extract. Gu Shaoshang gritted his teeth. Horse step pile currently needs a little source power, but the source power is not enough. Realization failed. Transfer to warehouse. Source force 0.1 has been extracted. After a long time, Gu Shaoshang realized that even if the projection mirror is turned on, he cannot reach the sky and smash the whole universe in one step. When the mood calmed down, he had cleaned up his distracting thoughts, and opened the mirror at will. The projection mirror of the heavens has been opened, damaged, now is a sporadic supreme level, mirror master, Gu Shaoshang original power, 0.1 point projection of the main world, 1, consider, not challenged, 1 remaining times projections of the heavens, 2, baby yet, not challenged, 1 remaining times. Teng Qingshan, challenged, 0 remaining times. Zushan projection pool, choose to open, consumption of source power varies, and then open immediately, minimum 1 point of source power at a time. The warehouse of the heavens, horse step pile projection. Teng Qingshan spent 5 points of source power and got 0.1 after defeating it once. It takes 10 days for a sporadic horse step pile. No, I can still challenge Yabao Bao. When he was young, Guju was also a hero of Gu's family village. At the age of 30, he was a strong man in the blood like mercury paddles in the 5 stages of foundation building, and he was only one step away from the realm of life. Later, in the year before Gu Shaoshang was born, he went deep into Daming Mountain to collect herbs for tonic for his pregnant wife. When I came back, the bones were loose and the flesh was slack, the internal organs were exhausted, and 90% of the effort was gone. Guju walked into the room with a bowl of rice porridge, and Gu Shaoshang, who was wrapped in white cloth, opened his eyes. Father Gujuan placed it on the table and gently lifted Gu Shaoshang up. Seeing the pained expression on his son's face, all the anger dissipated. "Well, stop talking. Drink some porridge to warm up first." Gu Shaoshang nodded lightly, and drank the rice porridge fed by his father in one mouthful. "Looking at my father who is losing weight, my heart is sour." Secretly gritted his teeth. "I must cure you, father." Traversing into this world, as a child with an adult mindset, can he easily accept another family relationship? A man who is seriously ill, a tough man who does not shed a single tear in pain and torture day and night. When I was 2 years old, in order to ask the doctor to treat me, I cried and knelt down in the mud in front of the 100 Herbs Hall in Mingshan City. He is already my father Gu Shaoshang. Your third uncle has been in the mountains for 2 days. He said he went hunting to replenish your body. After a bowl of rice porridge was eaten like this, Gu Shaoshang suddenly became more energetic, and the pain in his arms and chest didn't seem to be that much. Guju put the bowl on the table beside the bed and helped Gu Shaoshang to lie down. The bones in your arms and chest were broken by your third uncle. Even if you apply the special ointment for bruises made by the Tiger Roar army, it will take at least a month to heal. Ninth brother. Guju went to open the door after Gu Hao's voice came. Gu Shaoshang looked up and saw a tall figure in the middle of the small courtyard. Taking into account the raised arms, he threw a black and Dialao tiger with a huge size of more than 600 or 700 pounds on the ground. Boom! Gu Shaoshang's eyelids twitched, feeling that the ground was shaking. Guju walked out of the room and couldn't help but take a deep breath. What a big bug! The ferocious tiger has a big round head, and its whole body is striped with brown, yellow, and black. Its fur is beautiful and shiny. There are patches of white hair on its lips, jaws, belly, and the inside of its limbs. There is a deep fist print on the forehead in the middle, and there is dried blood flowing from the tiger's eye. He was actually beaten to death by the frontal punch. Gu Shaoshang smacked his tongue secretly, feeling that his life was too big. Haha, taking care to laugh out loud, I went 800 miles deep into Daming Mountain to find this big worm. It weighs at least 700 pounds, and it's not far from the advanced monster. Taking a few steps forward, he supported Guju. Ninth brother, I will go to a few clansmen to peel and open the skin. Divide the meat. Leave the tiger bones for Shaoshang to make soup, and the tiger skin to make a robe for Shaoshang. Guju quickly refused. A tiger skin and a pair of tiger bones are worth at least 1,000 taels of silver. It's too precious, you should take it back. Taking care, he waved his hand. Ninth brother, I don't know what happened. Xiaohu is only 10 years old, and after the bone injury, it will be difficult to achieve martial arts. Do you want me, Gu Lao-san, to feel guilty for a lifetime? The corners of Guju's mouth wriggled, unable to speak. Shaoshang, your third uncle is here to see you. Guji helped Guju into the house. The furnishings in the room are simple, with a bed, a few tea bowls and an oil lamp placed on a table and nothing else. Third uncle. Gu Shaoshang was so embarrassed, he was embarrassed to speak after shouting. You're so bold. If it wasn't for your third uncle's skill, he would have pulled back in time. Your third uncle would have lost his life to you. Taking into account the loud voice, although the scar on his face twisted, it was scary. But Gu Shaoshang thinks this is a bold man. Aji. Guju said with a dark face, you're such a big man, you still don't have much to say. Taking into account the haha laughed. The man in the barracks was the most forthright, and a smile appeared on Guju's black face after considering a few words. Suddenly, "Hey!" an eagle's cry cut through the sky. Gu Shaoshang only felt that his ears were buzzing, and the air seemed to be shaking. I was shocked. What is this thing calling? Taking into account the change in his face, he stood up abruptly. Not good. This voice, it's the monster gold-kneed eagle. Taking a step out of the door, he looked up at the sky. Hey! A behemoth with a wingspan of more than 10 feet, lingering in the sky above Gujia's Wang, a pair of golden eagle eyes leaked endless brutality and cruelty. When the wings spread, a huge airflow was blown, and the scattered arrows were blown away, unscathed. Considering one jumped onto the roof, only to see a mess. On the street, a group of men shouted loudly to greet the villagers to avoid, and all of a sudden it became a mess, shouting, scolding, and the cries of children. On the roof in the distance, a dozen people with bows and arrows confronted the gold-kneed eagle. The leader is 8 feet tall, a little taller than Guji, and is aiming at the sky with a giant bow that is 1 person tall. Big brother. Taking into account a few ups and downs, he jumped over. The big man at the head is the one who takes care of his eldest brother Guyu, the head of the Gu family village. Standing next to him is the only master of the 5 foundations in Gujia's Wang. The third one. And brother. This gold-kneed eagle suddenly jumped down from the sky just now. If it wasn't for the patriarch's arrow to frighten it away, the consequences would be unimaginable. The hunting captain Gu Hao explained. Brother, give me the bow. Let me shoot this evil beast. After all, Gu Yu is not a martial artist in the Fate realm. Yu reading www.yukanshu.com's own flying crossbow can only be opened more than halfway, and it can't shoot continuously. Okay, third child. The gold-kneed eagle is a monster. Without the inner strength of the life-defining realm, it can't be shot to death at all. The gold-kneed eagle has a wingspan of more than 10 feet and soars in the sky for more than 3,000 meters all year round. A pair of eagle claws can crush a tiger and leopard like steel and iron. The feathers on the body can resist the scattering of ordinary arrows. Even if it is a master of Qi's own realm, with true Qi that can leave the body several dozen feet away, it is impossible to fly into the sky for several kilometers to kill it. It is a veritable sky overlord. However, if you dare to hover at a low altitude no more than 1,000 meters above the ground, a determined warrior, will be enough to kill you. Gu took the flying crossbow with a grin on his face. The flying crossbow is the standard weapon of the Dayan army. The body of the bow is made of fine steel, and the string of the bow is taken from the tendons of the adult beast. The weight of the bow itself is as high as 120 jins. Without 10,000 jins of strength, it is impossible to pull it off. It can only be configured by a commander of thousands and above. Taking into account is also a great contribution, and it was specially given by Cheng Haihu, the commander of the Tiger Roar army. Taking into account the fact that a bow is in hand, the aura of iron-blooded killing is soaring into the sky. He pushed his thumbs out, his little fingers wrapped around him, his knees spread out, his hips sucked in, his waist was darkened, his chest was open, his belly button pointed to the ground, and his heart was put down. Taking care of the arrows, the bow opens the full moon. Focus on the gold-kneed eagle in midair. Hey! The moment he thought about Zhang Gong, the gold-kneed eagle let out a cry that startled the sky and stopped the clouds. With its wings spread out, it swoops down at a speed like a falling meteor. The target is the only consideration that threatens it. Taking into account the thinness of qi and blood in the whole body, a wave of air spread, and the men around Gujia's Wang were caught off guard and pushed off the roof one by one. Only Guyu barely stood still, holding the knife in his hand, guarding him. Collapse. Consider loosening the bowstring. The gold-kneed eagle swooped down, and the feathers reflected a dazzling metallic color in the sunlight. Hey! Taking into account the bow and arrow, his clothes were lifted high by the violent airflow. There was a loud explosion of thunder in his stomach, his arms bulged as if they were inflated, and the blood vessels were thick and swollen, as if he could see the color of blood flowing continuously. Taking into account the internal energy of the whole body, pouring the bow and arrow into the bow and arrow, shouted loudly. "Give me death!" The arrows carried a violent explosion of turbulent airflow, and they spanned a distance of hundreds of meters in an instant. Under the sharp roar of the air being torn apart, they shot towards the gold-kneed eagle. Hey! The gold-kneed eagle's wings suddenly flapped, and the airflow met the arrow like a substance. But all in vain. A white airflow suddenly penetrated the gold-kneed eagle's steel-like feathers, opening a huge cavity like a human head between its chest and abdomen. Transparent from front to back. The blood, internal organs, and broken feathers were swept up into the sky by the violent airflow, and disappeared in an instant. Hey! The gold-kneed eagle slammed into the street with a cry of pain and despair. Boom! A deafening violent crash resounded through the sky. The whole street seemed to sink a few inches, the surrounding houses collapsed, like countless thunders bursting at the same time. A large number of bluestone fragments on the ground were shaken up into the sky, and the sky and the earth splashed all around, all like hidden weapons, shot out. The roar of the air. Hey! 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 The gold-kneed eagle was struggling to keep rolling. The twowing wheel moves like two giant knives, and the surrounding wooden houses and stone houses are cut like tofu. The power of the monster is so great. Guyu was in a cold sweat. If he hadn't arranged for the hunting team to evacuate the villagers in advance, if he hadn't taken into account the vacation and returned to the village. Gu Jiazhuang is likely to suffer heavy casualties this time. Thirdest, are you all right? Guyu lifted his body up and took care of his shaky body. Taking into account that his body was about to fall, his whole body was wet with cold sweat as if it was washed with water. There was an overwhelmed squeak sound from the bones and meridians all over the body, leaning against Guyu like noodles. The internal energy exploded too much, and the whole body was strained. At least a week's rest. Taking care to wipe off the sweat on his forehead, he put down the crossbow. Looking at the gold-kneed eagle who was constantly struggling and screaming, the scar on his face that was red with blood twitched for a while. The life force of the monster is beyond my waiting too much. I shot its heart violently with an arrow, and it can still struggle. Guyu sighed, it's fortunate that you came back from vacation this time, otherwise Zhuangzi would have been destroyed by this evil hand. Taking into account the struggle to get up, he played a tiger returning to the mountain to calm the meridians of the whole body. The gold-kneed eagle hovers at an altitude of more than 3,000 meters all year round, feeding on large beasts. It rarely attacks human villages and towns, and this time is probably a bit strange. The soldiers will stop it, the water will cover it. Guyu saw the gold-kneed eagle in the distance stop struggling, and the dark red blood flowed through the ruins like mercury. You regulate your own qi and blood, and I'll take care of it. Immediately jumped off the roof, shouting loudly with the hunting party to clean up the mess. Nodding his head in consideration, he slammed down on the roof without going down, landing on all fours like a tiger. The muscles of the whole body rose and fell violently, and the spine twisted like a dragon. There was a screeching sound like a tiger roaring in the body. Gu Shaoshang lay on the bed and listened carefully to the movement outside. Father Guju looked terrified and walked back and forth in the house uneasy. Boom hey! Sugar palm! The house suddenly shook violently, and the tea bowl on the table fell to the ground and shattered. Guju threw himself on Gu Shaoshang, and the dust on the roof fell, and the father and son instantly became clay figurines. Cough! Cough! After a long time, Guju coughed a few times, stood up and opened the window to look back and forth. Hey! It's all right, your third uncle shot that big bird down. The white cloth on the upper body of Gu Shao's injury turned grey, looking in a state of embarrassment. Father, sit down and rest for a while. You've been taking care of me for 2 days. Your health is important, I'm fine. Guju waved his hand, I'll go out and have a look, you can rest. After that, she closed the door and walked out. The world in the mirror, the competition arena. Gu Shaoshang clasped his hands in front of his chest, and looked at him speechlessly. Ye Baobao wore a tiger hat and waved his pink arms. He rushed towards him in a sluggish manner. Watching Ye Baobao's light dissipate, Gu Shaoshang was thoughtful. The projection mirror of the heavens has been opened, damaged, now is a sporadic supreme level, mirror master, Gu Shaoshang source, 12 points projection of the main world, 1, consider it, Qin challenge, the remaining number of times is 1 projections of the heavens, 2, Teng Qing Shan, the remaining number of challenges has been 0. Baby yet, challenged, 0 remaining times Zushan projection pool, choose to open, consumption of source power varies, and then open immediately, minimum 1 point of source power at a time, Zushan warehouse, sporadic yoga technique, sporadic horse step stake, sporadic firearm mastery, sporadic flying sword technique, 1-star Xingyi Iquan, baby ya baby bottle. Gu Shaoshang let out a sigh of relief, and a smile formed on the corner of his mouth. It's been 2 months, and I finally have the 12 sources that Xingyi Iquan needs. Exhibition, Xingyi Iquan. A wisp of purple light shot up from the mirror and shot directly into Gu Shao's mind. Concretizing Xingyi Iquan. Origin force 12 points. Concretizing. Concretizing complete. Boom. Gu Shaoshang's mind was shocked, and a burst of information emerged. Xingyi Iquan. The 3-body pose. Xingyi 5 elements boxing. Hack, jump, drill, gun, horizontal 12 shapes of shape and meaning, dragon, tiger, monkey, horse, rooster, harrier, swallow, snake, scorpion, eagle, eagle and bear. Tiger-shaped magic trick. A flood of information flooded in. Gu Shaoshang seemed to have had a dream. In the dream, a young man named Teng Qingshan, codenamed Wolf, went to the master of Xingyi Iquan Teng Bailai to practice Xingyi Iquan hard. Great progress in boxing between life and death. The advanced masters practice tiger-shaped magic. A field, UU reading www. Scene by scene on uuganshu.com, the scenes of Teng Qingshan practicing Xingyi Iquan kept passing Gu Shaoshang's mind like a movie. In a short period of time, all of Teng Qingshan's lifelong Xingyi Iquan experience was absorbed and mastered by Gu Shaoshang. Xingyi Iquan. Gu Shaoshang let out a long breath and slowly assumed the 3 poses. He held his chest and pulled his back, his palms were shaped like tiger claws, and the soles of his feet were empty as if walking in the mud. Qi and 3 poses, and sometimes 5-element boxing, 12 forms, all the essentials of boxing are circulated. Gu Shaoshang's small body was tossing and moving in the open space with a radius of 10 feet, as smooth as running clouds and flowing water. Play more and more fun. All the muscles and tendons all over the body are under control. After a long time, Gu Shaoshang slowly closed the pose and 3 poses. Hey! Gu Shaoshang opened his own state. Gu Shaoshang, Mirror Master Age, 10 years old cultivation base, the first stage of foundation building, the whole force is complete. Evaluation, Sporadic Ordinary Source, 0 points Gong Method, Basic Fist and Foot, Level 5, Basic Sword Technique, Level 3, Tiger Roaring Fist, Level 1, Xingyi Boxing, Level 3, Props, a Wood-Breaking Knife Combat Strength, 8 High. It's actually showing the same level as the game? Is it because the conditions for display were not met before? Gu Shaoshang was surprised that it showed the same level as the game. The sporadic skill was at level 10, and the 1-star skill was at level 15. Ordinary people need 10 years to train a single star skill, and the improvement of 1-star skills is even more terrifying. The combat power has more than doubled. It's obvious that I have only just become familiar with Xingyi Iquan. The master's experience is really extraordinary. Gu Shaoshang couldn't help being shocked. In the middle of winter, heavy snow covers the mountains and forests, the entire Daming Mountain is white, and the birds and beasts are extinct. The rising sun did not bring the slightest warmth, and the bone-piercing cold wind blew down the only leaves left in the forest. On the outskirts of Daming Mountain, in a forest 5 miles away from Gujiazhuang, Gu Shaoshang, dressed in sackcloth, stepped on the snow buried under his knees and slowly punched Xing Ai fist. Gu Shaoshang's left foot was like an iron plow tilling the ground, while his right foot suddenly kicked, and his right fist burst out. Pfft! The fist force rolled up the snow, raised it high, and Gu Shaoshang issued a cannon fist. Snapped! There was a crisp sound in the air. Compared to the slightly taller body when he was injured 3 months ago, it already feels a little immobile. Xing Yiquan is even more effective in strengthening muscles and bones than Huxiaoquan. Gu Shaoshang felt comfortable all over, his muscles were numb, and his bones rattled. You can even feel that the muscles, bones and internal organs are constantly changing and becoming stronger, the skin of the whole body is tense, and the pores are getting smaller and smaller. The second level of foundation building, the skin is as tough as a drum. If there is enough meat, I can break through within 10 days. I have the power of an ox. Gu Shaoshang looked happy. With a jump of his body, he climbed onto the branch, and several rose and fell to the top of the tree. The whole thing didn't even get snow down the tree trunks. In my previous life, I ran around to make a living. I worked overtime every day until the night, my body was sub-healthy, and I ran out of breath when I ran a few steps. How can I be so happy now? Gu Shaoshang looked at Daming Mountain in the distance, the sky and the earth were white and covered in silver. The heart is infinitely open. Gu Shaoshang galloped away in the forest, 5 miles away in a flash. Auntie! Uncle! Waking up so early, what a good boy! Stepping through the gate of Gujiazhuang, he trotted all the way to the martial arts training ground. If you see uncles and aunts who get up early to cook and do morning exercises, they will also take the initiative to say hello. Guju was seriously ill, and the villagers were very helpful. Gu Shaoshang remembered it in my heart and was deeply grateful. A few days ago, the mountain was covered by heavy snow, and the hunting team could not enter the mountain. In the martial arts field, hundreds of men are practicing in the morning. Some are punching, some are shaking big guns, some are demonstrating swordsmanship, and some are playing with stone locks. The whole place was lively. Don't hurt. Why did you come? I'm earlier than you today. Gu Shaoshang came to the bottom of the high platform in the southeast corner, where more than a dozen children had gathered to practice tiger roaring boxing. I got up early this morning to chop a bundle of firewood, but I came late. Gu Shaoshang smiled slightly and walked into the team. He especially liked the life of a village like a big family, which he had never experienced in his previous life. After half an hour passed, all the teenagers in the village arrived. Taking into account the black robe standing on the high platform, the clothes are half unraveled, and the dark chest hair is leaking. Seeing that the teenagers were lined up neatly, he nodded slightly in consideration. The Tiger Roar Army has allowed me to take a year off, and it's been 8 months now. You are basically familiar with Tiger Roar boxing, and the only thing left is to work hard. There is no other way. Taking care of his loud voice, he stretched his arms forward. Thick fingers connect the dots. Gu Shaoshang, Gu Shaos, Gu Shaiyu, Gu Shaihan, the 4 of you are out of the line. Considering that the 4 names were named, the eyes of the teenagers immediately focused on the 4 of them, looking envious. These 4 people have all broken through the foundation building pass, and they are the best among a group of teenagers, and Gu Shaos has even reached the 2nd foundation building pass. The 4 walked out of the queue. The 4 of you. Practice in pairs. The winner will be rewarded. Gu Gu put his hands around his chest, expressionless. Gu Shaoshang, I'll challenge you. Gu Shaiyu said with a round face and a chubby figure with a smile. Gu Shaiyu is 14 years old, the elder brother of Gu Shaohan and the oldest among the teenagers in the field. He usually likes to bully children who are not as good as him. Gu Shaoshang frowned, but before he could speak, Gu Shaoz stepped forward. Gu Xiaoyu. I was injured for half a month before Shaoshang, and I'm not yet proficient in tiger roaring boxing. Fight with me. Gu Shaoz is taller than the average teenager. Looking out, 12 years old looks like 15 or 16 years old. Gu Shaoz. Who do you think you are? I'll be happy to fight Shaoshang, it's none of your business. Gu Xiaoyu's eyes widened and he shouted angrily. You! Gu Shaoshang grabbed the arm of Gu Shaoz who was about to explode. Shaking his head slightly, brother, don't worry about it, I'm sure. Gu Shaoz was astonished. Just now, Gu Shaoshang grabbed his arm, and with his strength in the second stage of foundation building, he didn't let it go. Forgot to stop for a while. On the high stage, taking into account the eyes of Wei Mi, bullying the soft and afraid of the hard, pushing the strong enemy to the younger brother, this kind of heart. Gu Shaoshang took 2 steps forward and clasped his fists with both hands. Bring it on! Gu Xiaoyu stepped forward. Gu Shaoz is the cultivation level of the second stage of foundation establishment, and he has the power of an ox. Of course I can't beat it, but Gu Shao is injured, Accept it. Gu Xiaoyu stomped on the ground with the sole of his foot, and his figure threw out like a fierce tiger, with 5 fingers spread, and 1 claw swung straight at Gu Shaoshang. Gu Xiaoyu is too ruthless. If you take action, the tiger will tear your heart. It's really insidious. After all, it's not long before you step into Foundation Establishment Pass, and after another half a month's delay, Xiaoyu is probably not a match for Gu Xiaoyu. Gu Shaoshang's face turned cold, his eyes narrowed. The large muscles in the whole body are suddenly pulled, and it is a punch without dodging or evading. Snap! There was a saying in Gu Shaoshang's previous life that $1,000 can't buy a sound, but now Gu Shaoshang punched out, and there was a crisp sound in the air. Gu Xiaoyu immediately changed color. Not good. Gu Shaoshang punched him in the chest with the palm of his hand. Crack! What? Gu Xiaoyu let out a scream, and flew out of the ground. Good boy! Defeat Gu Xiaoyu in 1 move. How can it be so strong? Didn't Gu Shaoshang just break through the rectification force? The crowd was in an uproar, including some men from the hunting team. Gu Xiaoyu struggled to get up, clutching his right wrist with his left hand. Reading www. There was a cold sweat on Yukansha.com's forehead. You've done a great job. Not bad. I've done my best, and I can mobilize the power of the major muscles in my body with 1 punch. You are naturally not my opponent. Gu Shaoshang said lightly. The full strength can mobilize the muscles of the whole body, and you can hit the whole body with a single punch. Gu Shaoshang's strength is concentrated on 1 punch, so he can defeat Gu Xiaoyu with 1 punch. No matter how unwilling Gu Xiaoyu was, he could only swallow. I'm not as good as others, I lost. Gu Xiaoyu clenched his right hand and stepped back. Teacher! I admit defeat. Gu Shaohan strode forward to support his brother, looking at Gu Shaoshang with a cold expression. Gu Jian watched quietly on the high platform, and was surprised when Gu Shaoshang defeated Gu Xiaoyu. Good boy! He's about to break through the 2nd level. This boy is more talented than Gu Shaoz. He heard Gu Shaohan admit defeat and said indifferently. A piece of trash. You don't even have the courage to compete, your martial arts path is not far away. Gu Shaohan's face turned red, he didn't dare to speak, he almost buried his head in his chest. Gu Shaoshang! Gu Shaoz! Come with me! Gu stepped off the high platform and walked out of the village. Gu Shaoshang looked at each other and strove to keep up with the envy and unwilling eyes of the crowd. In the woods. Consider standing still. The road of martial arts is difficult and tortuous. Taking into account the seriousness on his face, 5 levels of foundation building. 1 level and 1 level, an ordinary person who has practiced boxing for 50 years may not be able to set foot on the last 2 levels. The 2 teenagers looked at each other and their hearts were shocked. In ancient times, there were strange people who felt that martial arts was difficult, and ordinary people like me had a twisted road to practice martial arts. I traveled all over the vast continent, studied all kinds of exotic beasts, and finally created the amazing skill Yuan Python swallowing stars. Taking care to speak slowly like a pilgrimage. Yuan Mang swallowing stars? What kind of miracle is this? Gu Shao's said eagerly. Gu Shaoshang's heart was shocked, remembering that there is this amazing skill among the things that may fall in the projection, but it is only Tuostar. Gu Shaoshang is most concerned about the 3-star golden bell cover. Never noticed. Taking into account the violent step under his feet, a terrifying force erupted, and the snow and dead leaves within 3 feet of the body rose into the sky. Punch out! The air ripples like water, and violent fists swept the falling snow and flew out 10 feet away. Clear an open space within 3 feet. Gu Shaoshang and the 2 fell to the ground one after another during the shaking, looking at Gu Gu in shock. Taking into account that one leaned over, an extremely incredible twist occurred. The bones in the whole body seemed to have disappeared, and only the flexible muscles were left. The whole person was like a giant python hovering in front of the 2. Yuan Mang swallowing the stars. It's a magical skill evolved by the ancient strange people based on the alien beast Yuan Mang. It is known as the foundation of martial arts, and no magic stunt can compare to its status. Considering the merit, the whole person is full again, like a giant python incarnate as a human. The whole scene is shocking. I just demonstrated Xiaokeng's Yuan Mang swallowing stars. Considering that he stood still, the sound of shishi could be vaguely heard in his body, and his muscles and bones were humming. Gu Shao's, I'm here to ask you. You stepped into the 2nd stage of foundation building a year ago, the skin is as tough as a drum. How long do you think it will take you to step into the 3rd stage tight as a string? Gu Gu carried his hands on his back. The 3rd stage. Gu Shao's was taken aback for a moment, then stood up with a face full of unwillingness. It will take at least 3 years. You'll be 16 in 3 years. And there are 5 stages of foundation building, one is difficult and the other is difficult. How long do you think it will take you to live? Gu Gu was pressing step by step and kept asking. Gu Shao's lowered his head slumped. Gu Shaoshang followed and stood up. 3rd uncle, don't give a shit. Hurry up and talk about it. Gu Zhang shook his head and let out a sigh. For more than 100 years, Gu Jiazhuang, I have been the only martial artist in the realm of life. Is it because I am the most talented? Of course not. There are many people who have more talent than me in Gu Jiazhuang. Python swallowing star. Taking into account the reminiscence on his face, that was my 2nd year in the army, and I was just a soldier in the 3 levels of foundation building. That day, the Tiger Roar army besieged and killed a 5th level master of the Shenri religion, and I was lucky to find it. This cheat book. In just 6 years, I have succeeded in my life. Gu Shao was saddened and horrified. Even if there is a reason for taking into account the accumulation of wealth, the horror of this secret technique is normal. During the performance of the martial arts hall, the governor Chen Ang commented, the road of martial arts begins with the stomach. Building the foundation of the 5 levels, I'll eat 1 word. Why? The training of muscles, bones, and flesh lies in training. Without food supplements, no matter how strong your body is, you will only have 5 tuberculosis and 7 injuries. And Yuan Mang swallowing stars teaches how to eat. Taking into account he smiled. Gu Shao's scratched his head and wondered, do you still need to be taught to eat? Who can't? The 2 looked at each other, confused. For ordinary people, the effect of a single ginseng is less than 1/12, and the rest of the medicinal power can only be wasted in vain. And this Yuan Mang swallowing star Lu can teach you to eat a radish to get the effect of ginseng. Taking into account the stunned look of his two juniors with satisfaction, he thought that he was not so incredible back then. Gu Shaoshang couldn't think of the effect of this Yuan Mang swallowing stars even if he wanted to break his head. He was dumbfounded and couldn't help himself. Taking care of letting the two come forward, explain this secret technique in detail. When ordinary people eat, they can neither absorb the essence of the food, nor eat much. As far as I know, I, the leader of the Tiger Roar army, Lord Chen Haihu, can eat a bowl with a single meal. Even me, I can swallow a single meal. Dozens of pounds of meat. The key to this secret method is to stimulate the stomach and intestines with the internal energy of qi and blood, and to digest and absorb the essence of food 100 times faster than ordinary people. This secret technique has entered the door, and the road is smooth before the life is established. It is only a matter of time before the foundation is established. Taking into account that the two swear to keep secrets, they took out a book printed with Yuan Mang devouring stars from behind. Yellow cheats. After the morning exercise every day, learn the Yuan Mang swallowing stars with me for an hour. You have all gone to Mensa to learn Chinese characters. The two nodded. Gu Jiazhuang Mensa only taught the basic knowledge of reading and writing to children under the age of 10. For Gu Shaoshang, who has the memory of his past life, it has already surpassed Gu Jiazhuang's teaching. Gu Shaoshang and the two picked up the secret book and sat cross-legged on the ground. This recipe only talks about dozens of pages. The first 3 pages teach the basic acupoints and meridians, and then explain in detail how to stimulate the stomach and intestines with the internal energy of qi and blood. The whole book is only a few tens of thousands of words. With Gu Shaoshang's memory, it was deeply remembered in his mind at a glance. Seeing that Gu Shao's was still struggling to remember, Gu Shaoshang couldn't help but feel a sense of superiority as a scholar in his previous life. Gu Shaoshang checked it again and found that there was no mistake. Immediately enter the mirror world. The world in the mirror. Gu Shaoshang held the bronze mirror in his hand and clicked on his status bar. Gu Shaoshang, Mirror Master, age, 10 years old, cultivation base, the first stage of foundation building. UU reading www.uuganshu.com is full of strength. Evaluation, sporadic ordinary source, 5 points gong method, basic fist and foot, level 8, basic sword technique, level 4, tiger roaring fist, level 2, Xing Ai boxing, level 5, Ma Buzu, level 2, Yuan Python swallowing star records, 0 level, props, a wood-breaking knife combat strength, 12. It has been 3 months since the all-heaven projection mirror was activated, and Gu Shaoshang has only gained 18 points of source power in total, 12 points for Xing Ai Quan, 1 point for Horse Bunch, and the rest are saved. And the progress in martial arts is far beyond everyone's imagination. Ordinary people can spend 4 or 5 hours practicing martial arts every day is the limit. No matter how long your body is, you can't stand it. In reality, Gu Shaoshang practiced for 4 hours a day, but in the world in the mirror, Gu Shaoshang practiced boxing for 16 hours a day. Compared to others for 5 days a day. Gu Shao sadly understood that in this world, only his own martial arts strength is the greatest guarantee. Your own qualifications are average, only more diligent. Try harder. Gu Shaoshang put down the mirror, all the training methods from Yuan Mang swallowing stars flowed in his heart. This thaumaturgy is mainly based on the stomach, and the flow of internal energy is dangerous. The internal organs will be damaged at every turn, and most people do not dare to practice without the guidance of a master. But Gu Shaoshang is not an ordinary person. He has the life experience of Teng Qingshan, the master of Xing Ai. More importantly, in the world of consciousness shrouded in purple light, one cannot die at all. Otherwise, as early as a few days ago, I was punched to death when I took care of the projection. Gu Shaoshang let out a long sigh of relief. His mind was as calm as water, like the surface of a surging lake, he naturally and clearly sensed the situation in all parts of the body, from the internal organs to the small muscles, skin, and hair on the whole body. Although I don't know how magical the inner vision of the legendary martial artist is, but the confidence will not be much worse. 16 hours after the world in the mirror. Gu Shaoshang opened his eyes. His cousin was still carefully reading the secret book. I sighed in my heart. In 16 hours, the internal energy has gone down 17 times. 36 times of qi and blood have been poured into the stomach. If it were in reality, grass should grow on the graves. However, I finally entered the door. Gu Shao was overjoyed. As long as I practice once in the real world, I can practice this Yuan Mang swallowing star Lu. Gu Shao's put down the secret book. This secret technique is too difficult. Taking care of touching his big bald head, haha, and laughed. Boys, you know it's amazing. After I got this cheat book back then, when I saw it, my heart was cold. Damn, it's too difficult. Later, I put the cheat book dedicated to Lord Chen Haihu. If it weren't for the guidance of adults, I would not have been able to practice. Taking into account with a smile and scolding, he took the secret book in his hand and explained it to the two of them in detail. Gu Shao's listened hurriedly, and Gu Shaoshang also stepped forward and listened. For the next 3 consecutive days, taking into account the daily explanation for the two of them for an hour, the two made rapid progress. Gu Shaoshang has already started on the first day. But at such a terrifying speed, Gu Shaoshang naturally did not dare to expose it, and on the surface it was still a little slower than his cousin Gu Shao's. Hey! Gu Shaoshang slowly closed his fists, his whole body sweating like a steamer. What Gu Shao snorted in pain. Instead of being surprised, he was overjoyed. I only feel that the skin of my whole body is hot and still shrinking tightly. Can't help but speak out. Gu Shaoshang's expression was painful, and the skin of his whole body was visibly reddened. Shrink. Bounce. The whole body is cracked like a snake peeling skin. His face was cracked like a dry river dam, which was indescribably weird and terrifying. As Gu Shaoshang struggled, the old skin fell, revealing the fair and delicate skin underneath. The dark skin becomes delicate and red, like a baby. The leather is as tough as a drum. Although Gu Shaoshang had expected it, he was still surprised at this moment. The first level of foundation building, all in all. As the foundation of martial arts, it is important to train the flesh of the whole body to be strong and full, to have a quick response, and to gather the whole body strength like a single point. But nothing magical. Compared with the second stage of the skin is as tough as a drum, the shock of the snake shedding skin to Gu Shaoshang is not of an order of magnitude. Gu Shaoshang took off his clothes and stood in the snow against the biting cold wind. You can clearly see that the skin of the whole body becomes delicate and smooth, and the dark skin tone also becomes fair. The strength of my whole body has been greatly enhanced. Although I haven't tested it, it still feels more than 1,000 pounds. And the skin is tightly wrapped, and the cold wind can't take away the heat from my body. Gu Shaoshang wiped his body with snow and put on his clothes. There are 3 more days before the annual festival. It's my 11th year in this world. And I have finally mastered the power to change my destiny. Step on the road of becoming a strong man. Gu Shaoshang laughed and said no out of joy exhilarating. In the land of Dian, the people do not worship gods and Buddhas, but only sacrifice to their ancestors. The annual festival is the annual ancestor worship ceremony and the most important festival in the world. When the Gu family village in previous years arrived at this time, the children of the Gu family who were away from home often came back to participate in the annual festival. A red lantern has been hung at the gate of Gujia's Wang. In the distance, a convoy came slowly towards Gu's family from the road. In front of the head are 4 burly middle-aged knights in red fish scale armor, with long knives on their waists, riding 2 jiao horses 8 feet high at the shoulders and weighing more than 1,500 pounds. Jiao horse, according to legend, is a kind of good horse that combines jiao long and horse. It is said that it can travel 5,000 miles a day. Every meal has to eat 10 caddies of high-grade feed blended with eggs and soybeans, a veritable nobleman in the horse. Don't buy it, you can't even raise it. Behind the knight was a convoy of dozens of people, and 6 Jiao horses pulled 3 carriages and drove slowly. It's been more than 30 years. On the carriage, an old man looked at Gu Jiazhuang outside the window and let out a slight sigh. The old man wore a high crown and a grey robe. When he was young, his black hair had roots of silver, but his face was smooth like a baby, and a long beard hung down on his chest. "Grandpa, is this where you lived when you were young?" A pair of slender hands with fair skin like jade held the old man's arm. The girl had a snow-white fox fur on her shoulders, a silver-white cotton-padded coat, and a pair of silver-white boots under her feet. Her jet-black hair was held in a princess bun, with a beaded hairpin on the bun, with tassel hanging from it. When she spoke, the tassel swayed. A clean face, soft skin. His eyebrows were slender and picturesque, and his eyes twinkled like stars. There is a small mouth under the small bridge of the nose, the lips are thin, the corners of the mouth are slightly curved upward, and the head is tilted, which is indescribably playful and cute. The old man looked at the girl with love and affection, and his slender, white palms rubbed the girl's head. Lien Xing, Grandpa died when he was young, thanks to the elders in the village who brought him up. Now, he has been away from the village for more than 30 years. Are the elders still alive? He, Grandpa is timid. The girl Gu Lien Xing giggled. The old man was dumbfounded, then shook his head and laughed. Gu Xianzhen, you are still a mortal, and your mood is not at home. The grandfather and the grandson were talking, and the convoy was approaching the Gu family village. "Elder Gu, here we are." The carriage stopped, and the old man pulled the delicate princess-like girl out of the carriage. There were 2 rows of lanterns hanging high on the wooden door. In front of the door, Gu Yu, who had been waiting for the news in advance, was apprehensive. "I don't know where the noble person came from. What do you mean by coming to my Gu Jiazhuang?" The old man got off the carriage. Gu Yu took a few steps forward and spoke respectfully. "Whose child are you? Is Gu Suanyu still alive?" the old man asked. Gu Yu lowered his head and looked at his feet, returned to the noble. "Gu Suanyu is my father. My father is in good health. Are you Xiaohu? Don't you recognize Uncle Zhen?" The old man laughed loudly, and his gloomy mood for many days seemed to brighten up. "You are Uncle Zhen." Gu Yu was overjoyed, took a few steps forward, and fell to his knees. "Gu Yu has met Uncle Zhen." The old man helped Gu Yu. "Go, take me to see your father." While a few people were talking, a group of people entered the door. "What a beautiful girl! Like a princess. The clothes are so pretty. Is this the legendary Jiaoma? It's really mighty." The whole village surrounded the motorcade with curiosity, and some brave children wanted to tease the Jiaoma. "Ha ha! Silly boy! Don't move! I heard that a Jiaoma can carry 10,000 kilograms on its back, and one hoof can trample a tiger and a leopard to death." Gu Shaoshang strode into the door with several hundred caddies of firewood on his shoulders. "Why is it so lively?" All the people in the village ran out. Gu Shao was saddened and surprised. "Let me go! Let me go! Gu Shao hurts little, and the firewood that weighs hundreds of pounds is as tall as 2 people. From a distance, it looks like a pile of firewood is walking. Grandpa, look at him!" The girl gave a silver bell-like laughter and pulled the old man's sleeve. "It's so small, resisting so much firewood. It's amazing." The old man turned his head and glanced. This is the boy of Guju's family. He was only 10 years old and he was full of energy. Every morning, he would go to the mountains to chop firewood and exchange some meat with the villagers. Gu Wei explained as he walked beside him. "He's a good boy." The old man nodded. With the old man's eyesight, he could naturally see that this young man had broken through the second level. But for the old man, the second level of the mere foundation building is not worth mentioning. The old man has seen too many talented young people, and Gu Shaoshang is naturally nothing. Without a special physique, the fate realm is the limit. You can't become a strong man. The old man's face was indifferent, he glanced at the young man, his eyes surging with golden light, and he saw Gu Shaoshang's whole body in an instant. Gu Shaoshang, who was walking in the crowd with firewood on his back, also saw the old man and his group in the crowd. Tisk tisk. 10 jiao horses. Really rich. This little girl is very pretty. The 4 people wearing red phosphorus armor are all masters. It feels so strong. Gu Shao muttered sadly, kept walking, and walked to his yard. Among the crowd, the complexion did not change, as if walking in the wilderness, calm and relaxed. Gu Shaoshang naturally didn't know that he was seen through, and thought that he had insufficient potential and could not become a strong man. Carrying firewood into his yard, "Dad, I'm back." Guju was pasting lanterns in the yard, and when she saw Gu Shaoshang coming back, she didn't raise her head. "The meal is on the table, go eat it yourself." "Got it." Gu Shaoshang walked to a corner of the yard, picked up the ladle from the bucket and took a few sips. Walking into the house, there was a pot of wild boar stewed radish on the table. Gu Shaoshang gulps, and the Yuan Mang swallowing stars, which has already started, is activated. The stomach was hot, and the amazing digestive ability 10 times more than ordinary people began to operate. As Gu Shaoshang swallowed, the heat flowed from the stomach to the whole body, and the skeletal muscles of the whole body were shaking slightly. Call several pounds of broth, even the bones were swallowed. Gu Shaoshang returned to the room, sat cross-legged on the bed, and entered the world in the mirror. In the southeast of Gujiazhuang, there is an old yard. Because there are no people all year round, there are many places that have collapsed. The old man and his group stood outside the door, stroking their bald heads. "Uncle Zhen, you can no longer live in this old yard. Stay at my house." Gu Yu bowed his head embarrassedly. "Your old man hasn't come back for many years, and this yard has never been cleaned." The old man didn't take it seriously. "It's okay, just clean it at will." Without waiting for the old man's instructions, a whole bunch of servants have hurried over to clean. "What?" An exclamation sounded. A guard wearing a red phosphorus armor abruptly jumped into the courtyard. A corpse is raised shortly after. The corpse was wearing short armor and carrying a machete in his hand. Even in the cold winter and the 12th lunar month, there were bursts of stench. "Elder Gu, this corpse should have been successfully cultivated in the 5 stages of foundation building before he died. The cause of death was that the giant claws penetrated the chest and abdomen. Like the blood of the mercury paddle has dried up." Taking into account the blushing faces of the 2 of them, Nana didn't dare to speak. "I never imagined that such a thing would happen." The girl Lianxing walked out from behind the old man, without the slightest fear on her face. Looking at this paw print, it should be the gold-kneed eagle swooping down from the sky, but how can a warrior who builds the foundation of 5 passes escape the gold-kneed eagle's high-altitude hunt and kill? "Zhao He, have you found anything else?" The girl glanced at the person who had just entered. "That guard." Zhao He opened an animal skin bag in his hand, revealing 3 silver-white fist-sized bird eggs, and said respectfully, "This is the animal skin bag tightly held by the corpse's hand, and there are 3 monster beast eggs in it. This is a gold-kneed eagle's egg." The girl glanced at it and recognized it. "Ah! That's true!" Gu Gu shouted. "Uncle Zhen, 3 months ago, I shot and killed a monster gold-kneed eagle. At the time, it was strange why this monster couldn't go to the sky above Zhuangzi. It turned out that someone else copied the old nest." Gu stepped forward to explain. "Gold-kneed eagles can only lay eggs once in a lifetime, and most of them only have 1 or 2 eggs. It is not difficult to explain why gold-kneed eagles risked being shot by human masters and could not hover at low altitudes. The old man nodded. Zhao He, give these 3 beast eggs to Master Gu. He didn't care about these 3 priceless beast eggs. Yes. Zhao He reluctantly glanced at the animal skin pocket and handed it to Gu Yu, who was beside him. The gold-kneed eagle can fly 50,000 miles in one day. It is the best mount. The adult gold-kneed eagle is extremely difficult to capture, and the value of its eggs can be imagined. Even the powerhouse in the Qi Zone realm cannot ignore it. Gu Yu took the beast egg. The expression on his face changed several times, but he still spoke. Uncle Zhen, you should keep this beast egg. I'm afraid I won't be able to keep it in the Gu family village. I'm afraid it will be a scourge. Gu Yu sighed in his heart. This kind of thing that is very attractive to the strong in the Qi Zone realm, stay in the Gu family village. A bad whole village will die. On the side, Gu Jian also sighed in his heart. Big brother has a good expectation. If this thing is left, I'm afraid that the lives of the whole village will not be saved. In this world, the weak eat the strong. Even if the weak get treasures, one is not very good, the news leaks, and the whole family will die. This kind of thing, taking into account, also hurt a lot. The old man did not refuse. After Zhao He accepted the eggs, he slowly said, I will accept the eggs. After the New Year's Eve, I will choose 3 young men from the village and bring them back to Yandu. As compensation. Gu Gu and the others were overjoyed and fell to the ground one after another. Thank you, Uncle Zhen. The old man nodded. When he came out this time, he planned to choose wings for his family. Getting 3 gold-kneed eagle eggs can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You mean, that old man is Gu Xianzhen, Minister of War of the Dian dynasty. He will choose the 3 best young men to bring back to Yandu during the annual festival. How can we have a chance? Gu Shao's will definitely be chosen, and Gu Shao will hurt them. Not necessarily. I heard that you need to check your innate physique. For a time, all kinds of news spread throughout the Gu family village. Everyone is discussing all kinds of envy and jealousy towards Gu Shaoshang and the 2. Gu Shaoshang silently looked at his revered cousin and his father Guju, who was playing like a drunk. Don't get excited. It's been in front of my eyes for a long time. Gu Shaoshang slapped the table and woke them up. Let's hurt less. That's the capital of Yan. At the foot of the emperor. Besides, your uncle Gu is the elder of the Sacred Sword Gate of the 3 major sects of Dian. If you join the Sacred Sword sect, there is even hope to advance to the Qi sect. Guju excited and shouted, all incoherent. The 3 major sects of Dian, Sacred Sword sect, Hang Kong Temple, and Taipei Sword sect, are the 3 major sects in the world that have passed down for more than 3,000 years. There are countless strong people in the sect, and the background is very deep. Even with Yan Wutang's domineering, Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com would not easily provoke him. Yet. That's Divine Sword sect. Chen Ang, the chief commander of Yan Wu Hall, studied at Divine Sword sect when he was a teenager. Gu Shao's danced a little. The governor was only studying for 3 years, and he slashed the 3 elders of the Death God Sword sect with 1 knife. The 3 masters of Qi Zone are truly invincible. Gu Shao's, if I can go down the path of his old man. Gu Shao's was like a madman, and the genius boy who used to be calm and calm was nowhere to be seen. Gu Shaoshang couldn't take it anymore, so he ran out of the house. Hey, that kid! A crisp female voice like a jade falling on a silver plate, like an oriole chirping. Gu Shaoshang raised his head, and on the street in the distance, a girl dressed in fox fur and silver and white, like an elves in the snow, brought 2 maids slowly to Gu Shaoshang, with a smile on her delicate little face. My name is Gu Shaoshang. Gu Shaoshang frowned. This kind of eldest lady from a wealthy family is the most difficult to provoke, and is often a collection of troubles. Tomorrow I'm going into the mountains to collect herbs, you take me into the mountains tomorrow. As soon as the eldest lady spoke, Gu Shaoshang knew she was going to suffer. Sure enough, people are really sitting at home, and disasters come from heaven. Gu Shaoshang secretly complained, this eldest lady, there are many experienced elders in the village, and I have to take care of my father, so I don't have time to go to the mountain. Gu Shaoshang's eyelids drooped, and he made up his mind not to agree. But the next moment, his eyes widened. That is, on the fair and crystal clear palm, a pale red medicinal pill the size of a longan flashed into Gu Shaoshang's eyes. This is a pill that fills deficiencies. It can make up for the deficiency of the body and regulate the 5 internal organs. Gu Lianxing spoke slowly, and a smile appeared on his delicate face. Gu Shaoshang's complexion changed drastically, and his face was full of blood. His heart was beating uncontrollably, and he could barely hold his own blood. You only need 10, and your father's body will return to normal. From now on, you will no longer be tortured by illness, as long as you accompany me into the mountains. This bottle of filling pill is yours. Gu Lianxing took the porcelain bottle handed over by the maidservant. The little hand swings. I promise, I will accompany you into the mountains. Gu Shaoshang's throat trembled, and his voice trembled. For a while, everything was in chaos, all thoughts were swept out of his head, and his eyes were fixed on the shaking porcelain bottle. Gu Lianxing threw the porcelain bottle over casually, watching Gu Shaoshang with a confused face, and hurriedly caught the porcelain bottle. With a giggling laugh, he returned with the maid. Remember, wait for me at the entrance of the village tomorrow morning. Gu Shaoshang held the porcelain bottle tightly, tears couldn't stop flowing. For many days and nights, my father tossed and turned, screaming in pain. The once burly man is now hollowed out like a tuberculosis. Finally, my father is saved. A shimmer of light leaked from the sky. Gu Shaoshang stood up. Guju was breathing for a long time on the bed, and there was blood on his withered face. Gu Shaoshang's face was pleasantly surprised. This filling pill is really a miracle. Dad fell asleep and has never woken up again. Gu Shaoshang walked into the courtyard. Although he hadn't slept all night, Gu Shaoshang's mental state was far greater than before. The big stone that has been accumulated in my heart for many years is put down, and my mood is indescribably happy and peaceful. Gu Shaoshang played the 3 poses back and forth several times. I felt the blood pulsing all over my body, and the sleepiness of sitting all night was swept away. There is a saying in Xing'ai Chuan that all methods come from 3 body poses. Gu Shaoshang insists on practicing every day, and he can clearly feel that the muscles and bones are constantly becoming tighter and stronger. Phew! Gu Shaoshang slowly retracted his posture, and a stream of air in his mouth dissipated into the air. Xing'ai Chuan has already begun to enter the gate. The next step is Shuimo Kung Fu. The 3rd stage of foundation building. I am afraid it will take some time to settle. Gu Shaoshang understands that his talent is only average. If there is no projection mirror of the heavens, he is still spinning around in the 1st level. Gu Shaoshang had breakfast, packed his bags, and closed the door gently. At this time, the sky was bright, the roosters were crowing one after another, and a new day began. At the back door of Gujia's Wang, Gu Shaoshang swept away the snow, sat down cross-legged and waited quietly, closing his eyes slightly and entering the world in the mirror. The projection mirror of the heavens has been opened, damaged, now is a sporadic supreme level, mirror master, Gu Shaoshang original power, 6.4 points projection of the main world, 1, consider it, Qin challenge, the remaining number of times is 1 projections of the heavens, 2, Teng Qing Shan, Qin challenge the remaining number of times 1. Baby yet, can be challenged, the remaining number of times is 1 Zushan projection pool, choose to open, consumption of source power varies, and then open immediately, minimum 1 point of source power at a time, Zushan warehouse, sporadic yoga technique, sporadic horse step stakes, sporadic wild survival, sporadic firearm mastery, sporadic flying knife technique, 1.5 Xing Iquan, baby ya baby bottle. Gu Shaoshang opened the projection warehouse and began to materialize. Embodied wilderness survival. Embodied wilderness survival. 1 point of source power. Realizing successfully. Boom, a stream of information burst into my mind. The laws of nature, hunting experience, jungle training, swamp fighting, polar survival. Gu Shaoshang opened his eyes. Just a moment. The experience of Teng Qingshan's wild survival has been embodied. And I brushed 2 projections in the mirror world, and practiced Xing Iquan and Hu Xiaochuan for more than 10 hours. Gu Shaoshang felt more and more the majestic power of the projection mirror, and was deeply amazed. He was vaguely apprehensive in his heart. How could such a great and miraculous creation choose him? It's very early. Gu Lianxing's crisp voice came from afar. Gu Shaoshang stood up and saw Gu Lianxing dressed in a red hunting suit, valiantly. He walked slowly with 2 sheathed long knives in his hands, followed by 8 lightly armored guards with bows and arrows. Gu Lianxing walked up to him and threw a knife to Gu Shaoshang. For the sake of you coming so early, this military sword is here for you. Gu Lianxing stood in front of Gu Shaoshang, more than Gu less injury but also a head higher. Gu Shaoshang took the knife and pulled it out of its sheath. This is a kind of double-edged blade, like the Mo knife in the previous life. It is about 1 meter too long, and the knife weighs 30 pounds. The blade turned sideways, illuminating Gu Shaoshang's face like a mirror. Good knife. Gu Shaoshang praised. Although it was a little awkward to hold a long knife because of his undeveloped body, he was still overjoyed. It's just an ordinary standard long knife. Gu Lianxing's beautiful star eyes widened, and she was charming and seductive at a young age. Let's go. Gu Shaoshang smiled embarrassedly, changed the subject, and set out on the road. Gujiazhuang has 2 gates, the front gate leads to Mingshan City, and the back gate leads to Damingshan mountain range. 3 miles from the back door is a vegetable field in Gujiazhuang. The group walked out of the vegetable field through the path and passed through a tall fruit tree. The line of sight suddenly lit up, and a large and majestic mountain range spread out in front of everyone like a giant dragon. The mountain range was stretched from east to west, and there was no edge. The giant mountain with an average altitude of more than 10,000 meters pierced the sky, and the faint snow line continued on the top of the mountain. Absolutely, a vast air is coming from the surface. The Daming Mountains are vast and boundless. It is one of the largest mountain ranges in Dian. It spans across 6 states from east to west, and its length is unknown. It is said that there are countless giant goblins and monsters in the depths. Yuyuganshu www.yuyuganshu.com. According to legend, there is a dragon living there. Right in the middle. It's really incredible. Gu Lianxing exclaimed in amazement, and all the guards were surprised. Let's go, the nearest Red Maple Mountain is more than 10 miles away from Gu's village. Gu Shaoshang walked in front with a knife, and the snow buried his feet. Within a few hundred miles, hunting teams in nearly 100 villages sweep every year, and there are basically no large beasts. Gu Shaoshang explained. Gu Shaoshang and his entourage are all warriors, and their leg strength is far from what ordinary people can match. The dozens of miles of snow-covered mountain roads have been covered in half in a short period of time. Gu Shaoshang, you're only 10 years old, and your martial arts cultivation has already surpassed me. Gu Lianxing seemed a little bored, and actually took the initiative to speak. I don't know if you have tested your natural physique. Innate physique? What is that? Gu Shaoshang stopped and asked. Gu Shaoshang suddenly became interested. After all, he has only been in this world for 10 years and has no chance to contact the outside world. There are only a few books for enlightenment in Mengtang, and he does not understand many things. It's not surprising that you don't know. After all, talent stones are very rare. Gu Lianxing explained, Everyone's natural physique is different. After a warrior takes his life, his internal organs transform, and his inner strength evolves into true qi. It has shown that before this, only talent stones can detect a person's natural physique. Repair yourself and inherit your destiny. Only after you have established your destiny, you can activate your own constitution, and some constitutions are extremely terrifying. Gu Lianxing suddenly felt a good teacher, and then said, "It is said that there are 10 sacred bodies in the vast continent. How many are there?" 10 kinds of divine bodies. As long as they can be activated, they are all unparalleled powerhouses. The power of one person can cover a country, which is extremely terrifying. And the innate supernatural power is said to be a kind of divine power bestowed by heaven. There is no one in the universe, and it possesses all kinds of incredible powers.